Movie makers may never equal the real but tragic drama that followed the announcement of the death of Chief MKO Abiola. Shock, anger, frustration, and destruction followed each other in a succession of spontaneous reactions that culminated to violent demonstrations and riots. Hoodlums had a field day as they capitalized on the opportunity to rob helpless commuters who were stranded by the absence of commercial vehicles on the road. It's been 5 days gone since the death of Chief Moshood Kashimawo Olawale Abiola. 5 days of turmoil, 5 days of mayhem. The Nigerian nation is restive, especially the southwestern states of Lagos, Ogun, and Oyo. Palaces have been burnt, cars have been destroyed, even finance houses have been razed. The youths have been protesting the circumstances of the death of their icon. The protests have also left in its wake the death of an unaccountable number of people. Was hit in the burning is the Alaki of Egbaland, Oba Oyebadele Fede, who lost his palace, which dates back to history.
The palace of the Alakin consists of many houses. There is one where the chiefs meet every morning, every morning. That was built in 1854. Now the story house, which adjoins that building, was built in 1900. That was in commemoration of our becoming independent, a united government. The house in the long block of building in front of the palace building was put up in 1928. Are used as the secretariat or a native administration. And that house, although not being used as a secretariat at the moment, the top part of the house was being used for guests, like the Obas coming to see the Alaki. And the two lower halls were used as reception rooms. All these have been burnt down completely. See, what happens really is that we have some misguided students who came in their thousands to the palace, and they started shouting, protesting, supposed to be protesting in respect of the death of the MKO Abiola, but we did not know that they have other sinister motive. But when they got to the front of the palace, then they started throwing petrol and then matches on the setting up fire to burn that building. We had to call on the police to rescue us. But unfortunately, the police couldn't cope because the students was the number of the students were growing to almost about 10,000. So they couldn't cope.
Also hit by the burning are the Oshile of Okeono-Egba, Oba Didapo Tejosho, both in Abeokuta, who lost their palaces to the demonstrators.
It is not a question of protesting in respect of Abiola. It's a question of everybody trying to take advantage of the situation and making away with whatever they feel they can lay hands on.
An atmosphere of dismay still envelopes the nation.
And while he was in detention, we had led a lot of delegations to the government to release him. Alake had personally approached, Abacha on several occasions, and he promised he would release him. And we kept on putting pressure on the government to release him until he died.
A lot of people still cannot talk, shocked beyond words. Some who managed to do so have just been assessing the situation and suggesting the way forward.
We are in mourning, and there's not much one can say and one should say at this time.
Some of the rampaging youths were caught by the authorities through the Task Force on Environmental Sanitation and Special Offences with the help of the members of the state special anti-crime outfit known as Operation Sweep. They are being arrested for arson, looting, raping, and economic sabotage and will pass through the process of screening. If found guilty, they will then be prosecuted in the law court. Some 55 students who joined in demonstration and were among those arrested are ordered released by the military administrator of Lagos State, Colonel Mohammed Buba Marwa.
Let me give you a last warning. Okay? You are the future leaders. We expect that you will learn from the experience and be law-abiding. Nothing will be gained in putting blocks and preventing innocent citizens going about their lawful businesses. So they can be released immediately.
The appeal arm cannot but have been informed by the disastrous consequences that have followed similar reactions in the western part of Nigeria in the past. 36 years ago, the Nigerian nation woke up one day to the rantings of street urchins, political jobbers, and thugs who took to the streets, burning and looting after results of elections in the Western House of Assembly were released. Houses were wrecked like this, cars were burnt, the streets were desolate, hundreds of people lost their lives in what became known as the Wild West of Nigeria. Eminent politicians like late Chief Obafemi Awolowo, Chief S.L. Akitola were in the center of activities. The National Convention of Nigerian Citizens, NCNC, and the Action Group were the two political groupings under whose urges the struggle erupted. That mild disturbance of political disagreement which began in the West in 1962 spread to the then federal capital, Lagos, and led to the collapse of the First Republic. The military took over in January 1966. It saw the first spilling of blood in the name of struggle for power in Nigeria. Alhaji Ahmadu Bello, Premier of the Northern Nigeria, died, and Haji Tafawa Balewa, Prime Minister, lost his life. Chief S.L. Akitola, Premier of Western Nigeria, was also gunned down. Events followed each other rapidly, leading to the Nigerian Civil War, in which guns, warplanes, and starvation were used to terminate the lives of thousands and thousands of Nigerians. 31 years later, in 1993, following the annulment of the June 12 presidential election, the western states went ablaze once more. people took to the streets, burning, looting, and smashing houses. 5 days ago, when the death of Chief Moshood Kashimawo Olawale Abiola hit the airwaves, the western states came alive. From Lagos to Abeokuta, from Ibadan to Akure, the streets rang with protest.
You just look at him as a student. He was a bright student.
The struggle continues because Abiola is not the primary object we are fighting for. It's just a symbol of what we are fighting for. And what are we fighting for? True democracy in this country, true federalism, justice, fair play, and the observance of rule of law. We will continue until we succeed. True federalism, we are not one state. We'll be able to put all the others to ransom.
It's not a personal struggle. It is a struggle that must bring democracy, must bring rule of law, must bring justice to this country. And therefore, it's not something that one regrets or one can regret. I mean, if I did not believe in that cause, I would not take part in it.
I had met with him just after Abiola because he seemed in good health. I expected his imminent release from detention by the authorities, along with other detainees, and the beginning of the process to restore democratic civilian rule to Nigeria.
It's either that because of the medical neglect, my father has now suffered a heart failure, or that they poisoned him and he's dead. Either case is the complete responsibility.
Do you expect them to take any responsibility for this?
I think that they will have to take responsibility. He died while he was in their custody. Yes, the room is the responsibility is not for them.
Smoke from burning tires, houses and cars filled the sky. By the last count, more than 55 people were said to have lost their lives. It is said that once bitten, twice shot. The bug of national dissension has bitten the Nigerian nation twice.
To appeal to Lagosians to remain calm and see this unfortunate incident as an act from God and a period for sober reflection. Please do not engage in disturbances, as nothing will be achieved by it. I also wish to appeal to parents and guardians not to allow their children and wards to be used by unscrupulous elements to foment trouble or cause disaffection amongst the populace.
Government has noted the preliminary diagnosis of cardiac arrest as the cause of death and grief. Our national grief cannot be assuaged by recourse to lawlessness, threat to life, and the wanton destruction of innocent people's property. I personally knew to Abiola. We must all determine to give him a dignified burial in an atmosphere of appropriate solemnity and peace that he would have wished.
The appeals coming from the head of state, General Abu Salam Abubakar, and more instructively, the chief mourner in the Abiola household, Mr. Kola Abiola, should be interpreted as a shout of never again. Never again shall we kill ourselves wantonly. Never again shall we burn and loot and forget dialogue. The military administrator of Lagos State, Colonel Mohammed Buba Marwa, said it all when he asked,
the great Chief Abiola is to go and loot, burn people's premises,
death is such a final thing, and then death coming in respect of Chief Abiola was out of the blues, not something that was expected at all, so it's not a good day for not just me, but pro-democracy people, Nigerians. I mean, here's a man who people thought didn't have the spunk, didn't have the spunk to carry the mantle that was given him on June 12th. But he did it, and he did it so brilliantly, because it must not be forgotten that had he decided to compromise, he would have done that, and perhaps he'd been alive. So I think it's a supreme sacrifice he has paid for, the political survival of Nigeria. And the tribute we can pay is not to fight on the streets and kill one another. The tribute we can pay to his memory is to be sure that we all come together to create a better Nigeria. And that is why we have
been doing so constantly. We've said that the government of national unity is an imperative in this country, and that there should be a sovereign national conference so that we can determine the basis on which we continue to live together. June 12th represented more than just a person. June 12th represented an idea that everybody in this country can live together as one, that we can treat ourselves as Nigerians without regard to tribe, ethnic origin, religion, and all those things that have been used to divide us. And so when people say that June 12th is dead, I wonder whether they understand what they're saying.